Hello everyone, welcome to Solo Board Game Alert. I'm Robert, and today I want to discuss Heroes of Might and Magic, the card game. This is the latest crowdfunding campaign by Archon Studio, and I do have some background with them. Last year, I bought my first game from them, which is the Heroes of Might and Magic 3, the board game. And while I had a bone to pick with the terrible rulebook, I did ultimately end up enjoying it quite a lot thanks to the fan-made rulebook. I'll leave a full review of this game if you want to hear my full thoughts, but this game actually ranked pretty high on my top solo board games list from last year. I did ultimately quite enjoy it, and it also had a bunch of miniatures that I thought were unnecessary. But anyway, now we have the Heroes of Might and Magic, the card game. So there's no reliance on miniatures as a clutch or selling point for the game. This game will come down to their design chops if people are gonna enjoy it, okay? And now, the game might not necessarily upfront say that it has a player count of 1 to 2. It is mainly going to be a dueling 1 versus 1 game. However, from what I have read, there is going to be a solo mode included in the game, as well as solo scenarios from the stretch goals. And personally, I thought that the solo scenarios from the board game were very well done and implemented, and a great way to experience the game. So I do have faith that there's a pretty good chance that they will create a compelling solo experience with this. Now, I want to discuss the mechanics because for the first time, I read the preview rulebook from a crowdfunding campaign. Now, the reason why I never do that is because I just find reading rulebooks a chore, and if I don't have the game in front of me and I'm about to learn it, I just would rather do anything other than reading a rulebook. That's just how I feel. Now, the reason why I decided to read it this time is, according to them, this is supposed to be a easy to learn game, right? Easy to learn, hard to master, easy to get into the table. So I wanted to more or less get a feel of it, right? The rulebook should more or less reflect that. And also, I am familiar with the Heroes of Might and Magic video game. I do enjoy the IP quite a lot, okay? And while I didn't grow up playing it, I've played it as an adult, so I am familiar with the mechanics, and I also studied the rulebook from their previous game a lot. So I think I should be able to internalize the mechanics from reading the rulebook pretty easily versus someone who's not familiar with Heroes or someone who's not played their board game. And I am happy to report that I am pretty impressed with this preview rulebook. I was able to understand the mechanics pretty well. I did have a couple minor questions that arose, but the rulebook does a pretty good job of explaining the mechanics. And let's discuss them. So in this game, you're going to control a hero that is going to move around a map. And you're going to be able to pay for units next to your hero as you move around the map. And then those units you'll be able to activate and move and attack, okay? Now, the way that you pay for those units is with your stat cards. So one mechanic here that I find pretty interesting is that the hero's stats basically serve as your mana pool, okay? And you use those stat cards and you tap them to pay for the cost of artifacts, spells, and units. Now, you are not stuck with that initial pool of statistic cards or mana pool, if you will. You can play cards from your hand face down as a resource of any kind, okay, or as a stat of any kind, so you can increase your mana pool over time. And you can also, if you lack a certain symbol, you can tap 2 and convert them into any one symbol that you need to pay for certain units. So I find this whole using statistic cards as a mana pool, I find that interesting. Now, the way that you win in this game is you need to deal 20 damage to the opposing hero. And there is a semi-exploration element here where there's 3 location cards that you need to bring as part of your deck. And during setup, these location cards are spread throughout the map. Your opponent will spread 3 location cards in different rows, and then so will you. And you can use your hero to gain control of those locations, and those locations give you bonuses, okay? Another thing that they managed to include in this game that is part of the video games is unit stacking. So you're basically able to double the size of a unit, which makes it more effective in combat by playing duplicate cards of that unit, and you basically put this stacking token on top, okay? And when you attack that unit, it loses stacking points until it runs out of stacking points, and then you defeat the unit completely. And there's other means of increasing stacking other than playing duplicates. There's effects that do so. And there's also retaliation from combat. So there's that retaliation element. When you attack a unit, the unit, if it survives, will attack back. And there's going to be movement, including flying movement, and there's rules for that. So as you can see, the hallmarks of the game, from the mechanics, from that quick overview of some of the mechanics, they managed to include it. Now, one thing I'll point out is I think that as far as the exploration, which is a pretty big element of the video game, which from the board game, I also quite enjoyed the exploration. I think that's what has been sacrificed the most here. There's not as much of that exploration element where you go and gain control of tons of locations in a big map. So this has been more minimalized in this card game rendition. So after reading the rulebook and looking at the mechanics, I do believe that there is potential in this system for there to be compelling solo scenarios, okay? Now, how good they will be, how much value will they have, and replayability, we don't know that yet. I will wait to hear more details about it. Now, one minor concern I have from the solo player perspective, this grid that you need to play with, it's very big. So if there's going to be some kind of AI that you have to control, reaching back there on the farther rows to move things around, it might be a bit awkward depending on your table size. So this is the one minor thing that I noticed from the start when I saw the preview of the campaign, how the game uses this giant grid. Assuming that I get this game, which I'm not sure yet if I will, the giant grid from a solo player perspective, it seems like it might be awkward to control any kind of AI from the farther side. Now let's look at the rewards. We have a pair of pledges that are very similar. The only difference is the box that they come in. So we have this Queen of Might and Magic big box, and then the Queen of Might and Magic with all the loose boxes. So they're basically the same. You just get the separate boxes or everything in a big box. If I am going to back this, it's probably going to be the gameplay all in. There is an intro product, okay, with just the core set and the stretch goals, and also like a blinked version of that with extra playmats and sleeves, and then you have a collector's edition. Now there's no way I'm gonna get this because I just don't need that many playmats, but for fans of the game, and this is definitely the most popular pledge, but I'm good. For just a card game, that's a bit much for me, and also I just don't need that many playmats. And we do have some stretch goals, and it looks like most of them have been unlocked. They've smashed through the goals, so we get a bunch of extra cards of different types and scenarios. Oh, and I also have to comment on the aesthetic and presentation and art. It all looks gorgeous. I just hope it plays as well solo as it looks. And also foil cards, which there's not enough of those in board games. I wish more board games did foil cards. So if I end up getting this, I'll enjoy all the foil cards that it includes. All right, but yeah, folks, ultimately, I'm going to hold off because I want to hear a bit more about how those solo scenarios works. But I think as far as the mechanics of the game, I think they look pretty sound from the preview rulebook. Of course, take that with a huge grain of salt because it's one thing to read the rulebook, and this is also why I don't like to read rulebooks in advance, because they might make sense at first when you read them in a vacuum, but then when you have the game in front of you, I don't know what questions will arise. But at least from that beta rulebook, I was pretty impressed, and I think it explains things pretty well in general, and I see the potential here for fun, compelling scenarios. But I need a bit more information before backing this. If I do, I'll probably get that gameplay all-in pledge. After all, despite the rulebook issues, I did enjoy the board game a lot. And I forgot to mention this, I'm also a huge card game fan. I just love card games. It's like one of the most represented categories in my board game collection. That's what I tend to play the most, just card games. So this really is up my alley. I just hope the solo offering works well. All right, folks, so for now, I'm just going to wait and see. I'm definitely intrigued by this, and I might back it. We'll see. Now, let me know in the comment section. Are you skipping this? Are you backing it? And if so, please let me know at what tier and what add-ons you are putting in your pledge. And I want to thank you all so much for watching. If you have any other comments, questions, feedback, go ahead and put them in the comment section. And if you enjoyed this content, make sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.